I have coffee news, Paul.
Oh yes, do enlighten me.
Okay, this is the ceremonial way to start out the Shouting at Screens podcast at this point.
Yes.
So, Paul, because we are actually video recording, I'm going to show you and tell you at the same time.
Oh boy, it's a treat. It's a real treat.
I think you already suspect what's about to happen here because I had to
Uh-oh.
physically go somewhere, but here we go. I have a
Woo!
coffee maker now, my very
Very
own.
nice. What is it?
So,
Thermal
yes.
coffee maker. It is.
Yep,
It
it
is.
will hopefully serve me well.
Yes. Long may you live and prosper in the ways of coffee making. I will bless your coffee maker for you.
You will bless the coffee maker.
Lord bless his coffee maker. There it's blessed. And
I
I
feel
gesture
like
to the screen with my hand.
now I'm reminded of like Monty Python or something. Lord,
Uh,
bless this thy coffee maker that thou hast made,
yes.
that thine might use it to brew thy mighty beverages. Oh,
And we shall brew on the count of 5.
yes.
No, 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 no. It was the count of. Oh,
It
I
was a
can't
count
remember.
of three.
3
It
on the
was a
count of
count of
3.
three.
Thou shalt
For
not
thou
count
shalt
to
not
2.
brew
Yeah.
to, nor shalt thou brew to 2,
And that's
unless then immediately proceeding on to 3.
now 5 is right out.
Yeah, skip ahead a little, brother. Uh, oh yeah, Monty Python. Maybe we should do an episode on Monty
Oh,
Python one
I don't know
day.
what we're talking about. We're just talking about how great all
We
the
would, yeah,
jokes
we would
were.
just talk about all of the jokes. It would basically just be a spoiler podcast where we would just talk about every funny joke that happens in the movie and just recite it.
Well, I don't know if it's a spoiler because a lot of people have seen that movie, or at least know what
Yeah,
it is.
how old is that? Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
I don't. I
It's
don't
pretty
know.
old. It's very old. I'm not sure if it's like quite like 40 years old yet, but I'm pretty sure it's around there at this point. It's quite old. Although, you know, sometimes every once in a while a series is dead for a little while and then you decide to make a newer version, so maybe that'll happen with Monty Python.
Yeah.
Just as it has happened with Bourne, although admittingly Bourne was not dead for
Yeah.
as long as Monty Python has been. Paul, would you like me to start out with my initial impressions of the movie, or would you like to go first?
You may go ahead, sir.
Okay. As people will remember from the last podcast, if you listen to the last podcast where we talked about cowboys and aliens,
Hmm.
I mentioned towards the end of that I was excited for this movie because I enjoyed the last few Bourne movies, and I had seen like literally nothing about this movie. I had seen like one trailer, and I could hardly remember what was in the trailer because I saw it like a couple months ago already, and was like, "Oh, it's Jason Bourne. That's kind of cool. Like it's been such a long time since we've seen Matt Damon as Bourne. This is probably going to be fun. It's going to be like an old Bourne movie, and it's going to be intense, and it'll be great."
Born
So
again.
yeah, Born Again. Um, it's actually secretly was a Kirk Cameron film. It's an evangelical
Yes.
exercise. Yeah.
Exercise. Very nice.
Well, I wasn't quite sure what to
Very
call it.
physical.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it is very physical. Bourne is running and punching and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But I went to see this movie last night at like 9:40 was when it started, so it was pretty late last night. I went to see this movie. Um,
Hmm.
I was not impressed with this movie.
Interesting. Did you fall asleep in the movie?
No, I did not fall
Okay.
asleep, but it was not satisfactory
Interesting.
to me. It was there were I specifically avoided everything about this movie going into it. I wasn't intentionally avoiding it for a long time, but then like when it was only like a week or two away from release, and I knew that, some critics had already seen it, or like different parts of the world had already had it released or whatever.
Yeah.
I very intentionally tried to avoid all like spoilers or reviews or anything. I didn't look up the Rotten Tomatoes or the IMDb or any of
Yeah.
that stuff. I just kept my eyes shut and was like, "Oh, it's Bourne. What could possibly go wrong?" Um, yeah,
It was I like I didn't do any incredible research on the movie before seeing it. I read a few reviews on it, and Jason Bourne, Matt Damon actually has a YouTube video where he explains all you need to know.
I did see that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
see that.
In
It
like
was on
in
Facebook
90
somewhere.
seconds. So all you need to know about Jason Bourne for seeing this next movie, like
Hmm.
in 90 seconds. And I was like, okay, that's a nice catch up. And then I read a few reviews, and they just said, it's not as great as the previous movies, but it's definitely not a bad one, is what the
Uh-huh.
reviews were. And actually, one of the things I read was that it was like not it's supposed to be like nonstop action, but there was actually this movie did not was definitely not nonstop action.
Definitely wasn't. It had a lot of action in it. The
Yeah.
action sequences were all right. Some of them were better than others. Some of them were pretty good. Others were, eh.
Hmm.
Just kind of typical at this point, I think.
Hmm.
And it's not. I guess there's a difference between bad action and just not outstanding at this point, where it's like it wasn't bad. It's just
Hmm.
it was an action scene.
Yep.
It didn't really impress me
And that
with anything.
and the end of the movie, when he's fighting that other agent dude at the end, like I've
Hmm.
been waiting for this to happen the whole movie. I didn't really feel exceptionally like thrilled at it. I was
Yeah,
like, oh, it's another fight scene. Okay.
I made a note of that too as well. That it was an anticlimactic ending for me.
Yeah.
And the that action scene, in my opinion, was one of the worst
Yeah.
in the
The fight
movie.
was pretty slow. It was really slow. Maybe because
Yeah, it
Matt Damon's
felt
old.
it actually. Well, he's 45.
Yeah.
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 He's Matt Damon. I don't think it's Matt Damon's fault, to be clear. Like my
Yeah.
disappointments with this movie, I do not think were like. I'm not blaming them on Matt Damon. I think it probably had more to do with the writing, more than anything else.
Huh.
Probably some of the directing as well. Um, the final battle felt like a YouTube video to me. Like I felt like I was watching like a YouTube video of like two guys fighting. Like because there's so many action sketches on YouTube at this point where the quality of the filming and the quality of the fighting just felt completely not stand out. Like maybe if it was a YouTube video I'd be impressed by it, but since it's like a big blockbuster, I was like this is your final action set piece is two guys that we really don't even care about very much fighting in like a sewer. Is that what this is? Like that
Yeah.
was the final action set
Yeah.
piece,
Um.
and it wasn't too exciting to me.
So you said two people you don't really care about. So you didn't feel like you cared for Jason Bourne at that last scene.
I did not care about Jason Bourne in this movie very much.
Huh.
I cared about him in the previous movies a bit more, but this movie, I guess I didn't care about anybody that much. And to be honest, a lot of it had to do with me being kind of lost as to what different people's motivations were. Like, because I understood what some of the people's motivations were, but I guess I didn't understand why they had those motivations, if that makes any sense. Like,
Yeah.
because Jason Bourne in this movie starts out and he doesn't care at all. In fact, he doesn't really care for most of the stuff that happens in this movie. Like, he doesn't care about exposing the top secret programs. He doesn't really care about anything that the CIA is doing. Like, he's trying to like avoid it more than anything else. And then
Mhm.
he gets kind of dragged back in when hands him Nikki gives him the USB with all the secrets on it and
Yeah.
is like, here, we got to expose the terrible things that the CIA is doing. And he's like, I don't care about that anymore. I just want to be off the grid and I just want to, live my life and not get killed by the CIA or whatever. And then, like, he just kind of gets dragged back into it. And then he's like, find out that, they killed my father. Now I'm angry, I guess. And now I'm going to go get
Yeah.
revenge.
Uh, See, I feel like the movie at the beginning, I felt it moving towards one direction, and by the end of the movie, I realized it went a different direction.
Yeah.
I was anticipating it to be, of course, I don't know, is this also from a book or is this just a movie?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
assume this is just a movie, to be honest, because it doesn't. If it is from a book, it doesn't seem like. Well, hopefully, if it's from a book, the book was much better, and just the movie adaptation of it just
Yeah.
wasn't that great, because it definitely did not feel very.
Hmm.
It didn't feel very cohesive. It just kind of felt like this is a thing that happened. Like
Um,
it didn't
I
have a.
definitely, I mean, I definitely followed the plot. I don't think there was a, I mean, as in, I understood what was happening. It's just that for a time in the middle, I was confused about what I was supposed to expect or where it was going because, like I was saying, in the beginning of the movie, in the beginning of the movie, they say there's a new program like Iron Hand or whatever it is.
Yeah,
It's pretty much the same thing that Jason went through.
except worse. But we never
Except
actually
worse.
find out
Yeah,
what way it's
and
worse.
you never find out why it's worse. And you never
Is
find.
Iron Hand the name of the program in the fourth Bourne movie that doesn't have Matt Damon in it? Is that what they're referring to?
I don't actually know. That's a good question.
Because that's the only thing I can think. Because the fourth movie, which does not have Jason Bourne or Matt Damon in it, which I can't remember the name of the actor who's in it. He's the guy who plays Hawkeye in the
Yeah.
Avengers.
Yep.
He's the supporting character. That's like his role in Hollywood, basically, is to play the supporting character, even though he is the main character of that movie. That whole program is that they're enhancing people with these different drugs, basically, and so they're like physically and mentally enhancing these operators to be superior to normal human beings, and that's the whole plot in that movie.
Hmm.
And I can't remember if it's Iron Hand or not.
Okay.
I feel like it's not though, which is
Yeah.
part. Or if even if it was Iron Hand, I feel like at least somebody at some point should have like dropped what Iron Hand was, or we should have seen what Iron Hand was,
Yeah.
or like maybe we could have had because this operator who's going after him has been in the field for a long time, and so it seems like he was a part of like the original Treadstone or the original like Blackbriar or whatever, one of the early programs,
Hmm.
because he's the guy who killed. Actually, no, wait, this operator who's going after him, he's before all that stuff, I think.
Yeah,
Because
so I remember.
yeah,
But
so he's not even
yeah.
like super secret. But wouldn't it have been maybe more interesting if this whole Iron Hand thing is supposed to be so terrible? Like, why not have some like super amazing, hard to fight, hard to beat, like incredibly creepy Iron Hand operators? Like, try that. Why not have those people tracking Jason Bourne throughout the whole movie?
Yeah, and
You
so
know?
and he's like I was saying in the beginning of the movie with Iron Hand, I thought Jason was gonna do kind of be this hero character, as in he wants to rescue some other young individual from going through the whole thing that he went through. He was
Yeah.
like I thought it would have been cool if. Of course, I don't know if I can complain about this because this is just like, what if the story was different?
Well,
So,
I don't feel
but
like that's a bad complaint necessarily, because that's kind of my complaint about Jurassic World. Is like you had some good ideas here. If only it was different, like or presented
I guess
differently.
so. But yeah, I thought he was gonna go out and rescue this individual who was going through, about to go through this program and tell him don't do it. Don't sell your life to this. And then it turns out that for a while I was confused about what was going on. I felt kind of let down once Nikki got shot. At that moment,
Yeah, that was
I,
a
I,
that.
I no, I felt like at that moment, what you had to do was that he had to go and like immediately, like in the next scene, like in like anger or something, go out and kill the agent dude that shot Nikki. Like 'cause at that moment, I was angry. I was like, no, like, oh, he's gonna be boss and he's gonna go beat up this guy, and like
Yeah,
now he's gonna be.
especially
But he didn't
since
do that. He just kind of sat with it and continued on with the movie. And like I had this period of like wanting to see something happen, and nothing happened.
yeah, it's almost like they killed Nikki. In my opinion, they killed Nikki because it's almost like they didn't want someone tagging around with Jason for the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
That almost feels like the reason why they killed Nikki's character was like, this is a character that has been in, I think, all three of the Bourne movies with Jason Bourne in them. I'm pretty sure she's been in all three in some form or another. And then they just kill her in this movie towards the beginning. And I didn't feel like there was a really good reason for it,
yeah.
like other than maybe to make Bourne more angry. But then
but
that's
he-
not
he
his
was-
motivation for the
yeah.
rest of the movie. The rest
Yeah.
of the movie, he hardly even mentions Nikki. He just mentions like, "Oh, my dad. I'm really angry that you guys killed my dad." Isn't
But see,
that
like,
that's
I don't even feel like now that I think about it, I didn't see in Jason, um, I didn't see an anger in him that like they killed his dad. I really don't know what it was, but like as soon as he found out that his dad was involved and that his dad died, then he was like, "Wow, like this needs to stop." I feel like the theme of the movie was kind of out with the old and in with new, except that the new is exactly the same as the old.
yeah,
think
and
Jason Bourne
also
would be that
there's a
way.
lot of just there's a lot of convoluted stuff that didn't feel like it had a real point to it.
Hmm.
Like again with his dad, like so they kill his dad, and it's like okay, they kill his dad, And also we found out that his dad is the one who came up with the Treadstone program, apparently. And then it goes forward and it says that, oh, he came up with the program, but then he didn't want his own son to go through with it once his son started getting involved. And
there were a lot of very vague things in this movie that, like, I guess you didn't really need to know, but it would have been nice. Like, what exactly is Iron Hand? And then what exactly did his dad feel bad about creating? Was it just because he didn't want his son going through it? Or
he didn't want to...
He just didn't like the whole thing. Once he created it, he's like, oh, this is bad. Let's not do it. Like,
yeah.
And then, just on the side note, we'll go back to what you're talking about. But the whole deep space company, it was never...
What do they do?
It was never fully explained what they did.
Yeah. I have specific notes about that too, because it's just like, no, it's Deep Dream, isn't it? Deep Dream.
Oh, what'd I say?
Not Deep Space.
Oh, Deep Space is a video game, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, Deep Dream.
Yeah, Deep Dream. I specifically wrote down, what does this Deep Dream company do exactly?
There's one scene where they're like, well, all you know about it is that, I guess, as an audience and for a quick action-paced movie, all you need to know. But again, it would have been nice to know further. But it was just basically what they said was,
they have 1.5 billion users,
and now like they're like, it was so weird. I don't know how they worded it. It was basically like the internet is more like specific to your wants, like to the things that you're attracted to. Like everything caters to you more personally now.
Yeah,
but somehow other people that want that information won't be able to get it. Like, how can you ensure something like that? Like, I don't even know what it is.
That scene, I definitely am not. Like, it's when that scene, like, part of me liked that scene because the character, I don't know the name of that actor, but he actually felt like a kind of Silicon Valley guy.
Yeah.
What was his name?
I said Little Steve Jobs.
Oh, Steve Jobs Jr. Okay, Jobs Jr. We'll call him Jobs Jr. for the rest of the rest of the podcast. Jobs Jr., he actually felt like a Silicon Valley kind of CEO to me. Like, he felt like a kind of...
Definitely. That's what they're going for, I think.
Yeah, he definitely felt like a good actor who played that character very well. So I definitely think he did a good job as him.
Mm-hmm.
But that scene, it doesn't make any sense. Like, the more I think about it, like, it's like... It starts out and he's like, oh, I'd like to, we've just passed 1.5 billion users, and everybody cheers. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like, it's like, oh, that's impressive. 1.5 billion users. Everybody would, of course, cheer because it's a stockholder meeting or something. So, of course, they're happy about hearing more people are using the platform. And then he goes on and he's like, an ecosystem that includes hundreds of thousands of apps. And I was like, what? Like, because now it's like, okay, does this one company have hundreds of thousands of apps that they've developed and are maintaining? Because that's impractical. And also, what are all those apps even doing?
Yeah.
Like, do you have an individual app for, like, every possible human activity? Oh, here's your walking monitoring app, and your jogging monitoring app, and your running monitoring app.
They're all just pointless little fun games that you can waste away your life with.
Okay, excellent. There's just a million Angry Birds clones.
Yes.
That's what all the apps are. Okay. Because, again, that was something that I was confused by, was like, okay, this one company that has 1.5 billion users, that has hundreds of thousands of different apps, which I feel like wouldn't even technically be that hard to get 1.5 billion users if you literally had hundreds of thousands of different apps, because just like a few downloads on each one and you're practically there. And all it takes is a couple of hits and suddenly you're at that point. But obviously there's overlap then with what users are downloading and same users. But whatever, we will assume for the purposes of this podcast and this review that they are 1.5 billion separate users. I assumed that it's probably some sort of social media company.
Yeah.
But they also, again, never clearly state it. I kind of wondered if it was... I was kind of hoping it would be some sort of virtual reality thing because, Deep Dream, it's kind of implied that it's like probably some sort of virtual reality type of thing because, again, like the whole dreaming aspect of it. At least that's what I would think.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's never actually stated. It's never shown.
So actually, an offshoot of InGen.
Yeah, exactly.
From Jurassic Park / World.
Yes, it all makes perfect sense now. But So they have 1.5 billion users. That whole statement about, now you might be wondering, since we're going to be making this so customizable and looking at what you do and customizing all your experience for you, you might be worried, will anyone be watching you? I can safely say, or proudly say, no one will be watching you. And the whole crowd just like stands up and applauds, and that felt kind of fake to me.
Yeah, I was like, that's a very vague promise, and how in the world are you going to do something like that?
Yeah, what does watching you even mean in this context? I feel like people are smarter than that. I don't know. Or at least, there'd probably be some cheering, but like there would not be a standing ovation.
This is why our economy always crashes, because the stockholders
are just a bunch of dumb.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, hey, money.
There's the couple of like big stock analysts who just control the market every time they release a statement, whether a stock is good or bad or not. And then everybody else is just like, oh, I can be an investor. I'll invest in things. Or derp. Oh, he said that we're not going to be watched. Oh, buy more stocks. But actually, it's a super vague promise. Like, what does that mean? Obviously, he's collecting metadata on you in order to customize this experience.
Yeah.
Like, what does watching you mean in this context? It's a super vague promise. It would probably not get that much of a standing ovation or any standing ovation of any kind.
When you think about it, like, what is the connection between the Deep Dream and the CIA Iron Hand project? There wasn't a lot of, now that I think about it, they weren't very connected. They're almost like two separate stories, just so you can see how bad the CIA is. Like, look, it's really bad. We're manipulating this thing.
Because I would assume that Iron Hand is connected to the mass surveillance thing. I think it is, actually. I think they mentioned that in the movie. Yeah. But it's weird that they would have mass surveillance in the same like folder category, so to speak, as Black Ops. Yeah. Like, I get that surveillance and Black Ops are both, you need surveillance in order to do Black Ops, so to speak, but like they seem like two separate entities. Like, because you would just have surveillance and it would be like a general thing that you're doing surveillance, but then like black operations with like special operatives, like, even though you need surveillance for everything, you do not need Black Ops for everything you do surveillance on, so to speak. Like, They feel like one thing encompasses the other thing, but the other thing is not all of the first thing, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of felt weird to me. They are kind of loosely connected because the idea is that the government is watching everything that they're doing, I guess. Like, they're using the social media service to watch everything that you do, which is kind of silly that this guy is... They're acting like this is a big deal, and it is kind of a big deal, I guess, but, like, this isn't, like, a surprise or a shocking thing. Like, whenever you agree to a terms of use on, like, Facebook or Twitter or whatever, all of that is public information. Like, usually on the terms of use, one of the very first things that comes up is like, you should have zero expectation of any privacy. Like, that is usually one of the first things that you agree to. And like, it's not that hard to figure out. Like, Facebook is maybe slightly more private depending on how you have your account set up. But of course, anybody with like 2 seconds of looking around the internet can basically access, a Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there are a lot of social media sites where it is common knowledge that anyone can see your post at all, like Twitter. I mean, you don't even need to have a Twitter account, and you can just look up someone's Twitter handle and you can see everything they've ever posted without following them or anything. Yep. You just can see it. It's like, this is not new information that this stuff is out there. Like, and thus Deep Dream is also like an email client, because the government reading emails is more sketchy, but it's also something that at this point I think we've grown to partially. We know about that too.
I mean, I wonder if the CIA in this movie even needed a Deep Dream, because they already seem to be able to access any security camera anywhere, along with the schematics for any building, and get GPS satellite.
Yeah,
on
they already
anything.
have all of
I'm
the
like,
information on everything they could ever possibly want.
do you have all the cameras locked? Like, yeah, we do. It's like, what? How did you just like that's in Berlin. Like
Yeah, and like
that's not
they're
your.
talking about like, oh, they're talking to the CEO of Deep Dream and they're like, hey, CEO Jobs Jr.,
Yes.
we we need you to make a back door into your program that we still won't mention what your program does, but we need a back door into it. It's like, why do you need a back door? Clearly, you can hack any phone or computer or
Yeah.
anything from
Deleting
anywhere on
files
the
on a
planet.
computer with a phone. Like I didn't even know that was a thing.
That was pointless. That was stupid and pointless because, first of all,
Of course,
how did you hack the phone? And second of all, if you can hack straight into the phone, can't you also just hack straight into the computer?
no, because like there's like that little thing on the screen that said like the computer couldn't be hacked for whatever reason.
Oh, for some arbitrary
There's
reason
a lot of that in
the
this movie.
computer can't be hacked.
Like
But the phone can be hacked. The phone that is sitting on the desk doing nothing. As far as we know it, like, who knows? Maybe it was like, what did they do? They hack into the phone through the cell network and then they like overrode the Bluetooth on the phone to connect it to the laptop, but the laptop then would have to accept the Bluetooth connection. It's not like you can just magically force a Bluetooth connection. And
unless you're the
like
CIA.
yeah, it's like you can't just none of this makes any sense. Any of this like hacking nonsense that's going on in this movie. All the hacking nonsense in this movie is like the typical Hollywood hacking where it's like, "Oh, I'm going to hack this thing." And they like are pressing buttons on the keyboard and they're like, running programs. When it's like most of real hacking, what it is it's social engineering. I think that a lot of people on the internet are aware of this at this point, where social engineering is the real way you break into a system, where you go and you find, you take a piece of information and you call the right people or email the right people and use that piece of information to convince them that you should know this other piece of information that they have, and they give it to you, and then you use that piece of information to you get somebody's email address that you can convince a company to give you a credit card number with, and then you take that credit card number and use it to convince some other company to give the account details to something else with, et cetera, et cetera.
Like I've had friends that have like hacked each other for fun, just like for a challenge.
Uh-huh.
Basically, what I watched them do, or when I was watching them, they'd be like trying to find out old like information for like password hints.
Exactly.
And like just
exactly.
like what would their password be? Not like, let me run this program and like somehow let it decipher this code for me.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, those programs exist, but usually they take a very, very long time to do anything. Because it's brute forcing an encryption lock, and your phone is actually pretty secure. Like, it's not the most secure thing in the world. Like, the government can crack it, but like, remember the San Bernardino case where they wanted to get Apple to unlock the iPhone? Like, the FBI eventually cracked the iPhone, apparently, like after, asking Apple to unlock it for them, but it took them like months of having this phone in their possession, and they finally cracked it. Like, it's not like they can, and they had the phone physically in their possession where they could physically like take it apart or do whatever they wanted to it. And it still took them months to crack this thing. It's not like you're going to be able to press a button and just magically over the air in seconds hack anything you want. And then, like, part of me liked aspects of that, but also it felt kind of dumb at multiple points.
And then she burned the computer after she hacked it.
Because that's not suspicious at all.
But like, why do you need to burn your computer after?
No, it was totally pointless. Because here's the thing, that computer had been sitting in that little, hackers internet cafe, basically is what that was. It was like an internet cafe in Iceland for hackers. Iceland, which is one of my favorite countries, by the way.
Ooh, I did not know.
Yeah. So anyway, she burns this computer that had been sitting here presumably for years. Like, presumably this computer's been here for years, and apparently the best way to not be suspicious would just be to, walk out probably nonchalantly. Like, oh, the power went out. Isn't that weird? Oh, well, I have to be on my way. Like, no one knows it's her that caused this.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's doing, hacker stuff on all their individual computers. Like, it's not like they're like, oh, you're the one who did this. They're just like, oh, hey, you still online? And she pulls the gun out, drenches the computer in gasoline, and then lights it on fire. Yeah. That's her response. It's like, oh, that's not suspicious at all.
Well, they say they can't
Like,
get her fingerprints now, but they can
I
steal
guess,
her
but
face.
they would never have bothered to get her fingerprints if she had just walked out nonchalantly like a normal person.
Yeah. Um.
It amuses me that she hacks the CIA with an ancient early 1990s era computer that has 48K of memory or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. Um.
Um, and also, this ancient computer that is from early 1990s is able to rapidly download apparently quite a large sum of information and then put it on a USB drive. It's like, okay, sure,
Yep.
that happened. Also, like, they were able to kill the power to this location in
Again,
Iceland
that's like a huge
undertaking. Yeah.
how do you? Oh, let's just shut this factory down. Apparently, the CIA controls the world. I don't know.
They literally can do apparently anything they want.
I bet it was they
It,
who hacked the DNC a while ago. It was a,
exactly. It wasn't actually Russia. It was the CIA. Everybody can just hack anybody anytime they want to, apparently. That's
yeah.
just, yeah, here, hack, bam, we're done. But so they shut off the power to the hacker internet cafe. And apparently they can do that, but they can't stop one internet connection to a computer in there. Like, you think that if they have the capability, or here's another thing, they can apparently hack into a phone and delete all the files off of a computer by hacking into a phone. Why can't you, since she's literally downloading something from your server, you go through the trouble of implanting malware in the USB drive along with her download. Why not implant a virus that just goes, oh, hey, psych, we actually deleted all the files, replaced them with like fake nonsense files, and it's also a tracking device. So that way when you plug this USB in anywhere in the world, we will instantly know where you are. I feel like that's something that, having already established we can hack into a phone and then use the phone to like destroy a computer next to the phone.
They did know
you could probably do that.
They did know where they were because like the USB had some kind of tracking thing on. Like whenever you
did.
open the
but
USB,
why not?
Like somehow
But they're like, oh, we can use the phone to delete the files off the computer. Why not do that in the first place while she's still downloading them? If you have this kind of technology,
yeah.
I don't know. Why not hack into like Iceland's police force and tell them like, oh, hey, there's like a mass murderer on the loose. This is what she looks like.
Yep.
Go get her. You know, like oh my goodness. What is funny to me is, you know, they go through the closed circuit TV footage of the people leaving Iceland's airport, and there's like 305 women between the ages of 30 and 35 who have left the airport. And I'm like, Iceland is like the one country that would probably have about that few people in that age range leaving the airport, because like only like 300,000 people live in the country of Iceland total.
Yep.
So
yeah.
It is.
So basically, you know, kind of I guess what we talked about so far is that Jason Bourne's motivations were unclear. The plot was kind of felt like it was confused about what it was trying to do.
It was contrived, yeah.
They were, and then some vague assumptions that were made on the movie's part that you didn't really understand why. Like,
yeah.
Deep Dream, and then was it like Jason Bourne's dad? What exactly he did and what exactly Iron Hand is. Like none of those are really explained, but they seem to be very essential aspects of this movie. But besides those, how did you feel about the characters? If and how they developed, how the actors played their character.
Speaking
we
of
liked
Nicky,
little Steve Jobs.
I liked Jobs Jr. He was potentially the best character in terms of how he was played in this movie. I think Matt Damon did a good enough job, or a pretty good job, as Jason Bourne / David Webb is his technical name. We find out. I think he did an all right job. I think most of the people in this movie did an all right job with their characters, with what, especially, I don't know what they were given. I think that Nicky did the worst job. That character felt very flat to me.
I mean, she was
Like,
only in there for like 5 minutes or something.
she was only in there for like 5 minutes, but like in the scene where there's like the Athens protest going on, which I kind of liked that scene. There were some, but
Yeah, like the whole
it fell
the
apart.
whole city was like under like was everywhere. It was like I thought that was gonna be
Yeah,
like
that
anywhere
it
they went in
started
the
to
city,
fall
then like
apart.
police. I was like,
Yeah,
wow.
it started to fall apart towards the end, but like I'll explain the parts of that scene I didn't like as well, but I generally liked that scene and I liked the idea of like using this violent protest in Greece
Mhm.
as like a set piece. Um so Nikki literally she felt like she wasn't a part of the scene though. She was just it felt like she was completely emotionless whenever she was saying anything, and it felt like she was just reading from a script,
Hmm.
which is technically what was happening, but it didn't feel like a real person talking. Like it was like, Jason, this Iron Hand thing is even worse than Treadstone. We need to stop Iron Hand, and we need to release the information on the internet, and they're going to come and get you, Jason. This is a big deal. It's very dangerous. We should probably run for our lives so that way they don't kill us, Jason.
And then Jason's like, "Why did you bring me into this?"
Yeah, exactly. But she's like completely dull and flat for the whole line delivery, I felt.
I did feel that a little bit. I remember watching when she's like, and he's like, "You got to stay off the grid. It's about surviving off the grid." And
Yeah.
she's like, "Come on, I know that's not you." That
This
line felt
movie did
so
not
flat.
feel like a direct continuation to me, actually. Because like the third Bourne movie ends with him in New York. He like falls into the river and
Yeah.
then it ends. And I was expecting it to pick up back in, the US, and he's like actively trying to expose the CIA's evil programs, and is like, here, America, this is the thing that your government is doing. Is this what you want? Is this what you want?
And then
Like,
Trump stands up and goes, "No, we don't want it. We don't want it. Lock
Yeah.
her up. Lock her up."
Sensing that this is public opinion, I will immediately.
I don't think he pays attention to public opinion.
I think he generally does. He's
Anyway,
a good salesman, is what he
We're
is.
not talking
Uh,
politics here.
anyway, so Bourne
The Athens.
Bourne magically teleports out of the United States, and 12 years later, he's in Greece as part of like some sort of wrestling thing, which is his way of staying off the grid. Apparently, he can somehow stay off the grid despite the fact that the CIA can monitor every camera on the planet
If
Earth
they
and
know it-
run facial recognition on every human being in the world.
They had a lot of cross-referencing systems that was just like, wow, that's intense.
Yeah, I would assume that he would get picked up at some point.
And then
Pretty
the whole thing
frequently.
in Athens when this is like a stereotypical thing that you see in a lot of crime shows when like the crime show needs to like wrap up the episode quickly. Of the whole thing of like having a really blurry picture and be like, clear that up for me, please. And like,
Oh my
perfect.
goodness.
Let's just zoom in on this picture. Let's put this person's thumbprint off of this picture. Oh, that's her thumb. That's her thumbprint. And that's like, I mean, they didn't do that, but that's just like over exaggerated.
This movie like tries to act like it's in the real world, but then immediately throws all of that out the window
then,
as soon as they need it.
Just the fact that what's her name? That girl, the new character that's introduced. They're very self-motivated.
She like basically is that her plan the entire time, is to like get her boss assassinated so then she can be the director of the agency?
I think so. She said,
because
she was talking to Jason. She's like, you and I have our motivations to kill Dewey, but we never found out what her motivation was.
It was so that way she could get promoted. And it's like, is the CIA the mafia in this movie, where like killing your superior is an accepted way of promotion or something? Like the CIA feels like some sort of criminal organization, not like a government agency.
Yeah. And anyways, by the way, I thought she did a pretty good role with her character. Like even from the first scene with her, I could definitely tell that she was like very self-motivated. She had plans that you couldn't really perceive, and she knew what she was doing. But anyways, what was I saying? Oh, the scene with she caught the glimpse of Nikki on that camera. I like how agents,
she catches
go out
blonde hair.
Yeah, go out in the field and point your camera at the crowd randomly, and maybe we'll get some good facial recognitions there.
And then we can
use
our bogus
blur
zoom in
off in the distance, and it's like, go back 2 seconds. It's you remember how many seconds ago this was in the video, and then it zooms in and it's like clears up so much, and like, oh, that's her. Like, wow, okay, I get the point. You found her. Maybe you could have made it less like impossible, but
Obvious,
obvious,
yeah.
or
Maybe it's like you actually catch a glimpse of her through the crowd, not with this bogus enhanced stuff.
like maybe like you run into her, like one of the cameramen like runs into her or something. I don't know.
Yeah. That's another thing. I feel like the all of the secret agents and like special teams in this movie felt kind of incompetent to me. Like the only people who felt like they knew what they were doing was the like assassin dude, the main one of the
Yeah,
antagonist guys, that agent, Jason Bourne, and that's basically it. Or that lady too, the evil bad CIA lady.
yeah.
Um,
Which
they're
is
the only people who
yeah.
actually felt competent in this movie. Like
Mm.
there are so many things that have kind of gotten so drawn out now where again like so I felt like this movie was almost a repetition of itself in a way, and also as a repetition of other Bourne movies. Like, you know, when they kill Nikki, when Nikki gets shot, it's like, oh, Nikki gets shot by a sniper during a car chase, because we haven't seen that in a Bourne movie before,
Yeah.
where Jason Bourne's love interest gets shot
Poor
by a
Jason. No
sniper
wonder he's
in
letting
a
himself get.
car
Yeah,
chase.
no wonder he's letting himself get beat up across, Greece because he feels a little bad because wherever he goes, he can't get a partner because they always end up dying.
Yeah, it's like at least you could have thought of something maybe different. And then also, it's hilarious to me that the sniper, so he shoots Nikki, they fall off the motorcycle, and then Nikki's lying on the ground but clearly still alive, like she's moving visibly, and he can even tell that she's moving through the sniper scope. Like he can see her going up and down,
Yeah.
and then he waits until like last second as she like starts to get up and hand Jason the USB
Well,
to shoot her again.
I don't think that's wrong because I think, okay, I get why he waited because he wanted to see if Jason would come out and, get in view so he can shoot him
But
because he's
here's the
trying to help
thing.
her.
If you assume no, but here's the critical error. If you assume that she has the USB and Jason needs to get the USB, then I would kill her right away. Because while she's still alive, she has the opportunity to do exactly what she did, which is to like kind of
Uh,
toss him the USB, so that way he doesn't have to get out in the open.
but was the
And
CIA aware that it was a USB thereafter?
yes, they were aware that it was a thumb drive. They
Okay.
were aware of that because they specifically say they implant the malware on the thumb drive, so
Oh,
that way they can
yeah.
track it.
Of course, she
Um,
could have given it to him at any time before that.
she could have, but then again, if she had, there was no reason.
Hmm.
If you assume that this is purely like Jason's trying to expose the CIA, then there would be less reason for him to go back for her anyway.
Hmm.
So like, I feel like he should have just shot her the second time right away, because then Jason, in order to get the USB, if that's really what he wanted, which the CIA thought that's what he wanted,
Mhm.
would have to go out in the open and expose himself, so that way he can get shot by the sniper as well.
Yeah.
That's my opinion anyway, but instead I think it's like just purely for dramatic tension that we
Yeah.
have. Yeah, they wait to shoot her for the second time.
Mhm.
That guy, that character I don't like, and I feel is unrealistic that he's in this movie because he has a personal vendetta against Jason Bourne, and I feel like if you were a professional, government organization, you would not have someone who has a personal vendetta against a person,
Yeah.
be it in the field, because you never know when they would do something irrational then. Which I get that it's a movie and this happens in movies all the time, but if you're trying to be like the older Bourne movies, which clearly you're not, but if you're trying to be like the older Bourne movies where they're trying to be like hardcore, somewhat realistic, or like trying to imagine that this takes place in the real world, then this wouldn't happen.
Hmm.
Also, there are so many ways that you could kill Jason Bourne in this movie and in all of the movies and in between the movies that the CIA just doesn't. Like, if you really want to kill Jason Bourne, how hard would it be to, like, just, I don't know, shoot him as he's walking through Washington, D.C. and claim it was gang violence or something?
Yeah.
Drone strike him while he's driving on a road. Like, clearly, you guys should be able to track this guy effortlessly with all of your satellites and crap.
He needs to be more like Ron Swanson and get rid of all of his social profiles.
Yeah, delete all pictures of Jason Bourne.
Or like Jack Reacher.
Yeah.
Okay, so on a side note, after this movie, I really want to see a combat between, Matt Damon as Jason Bourne, then Daniel Craig as James Bond, and Tom Cruise as Jack Reacher, and see who just would win.
Or you mean Tom Cruise as what's the Mission Impossible guy?
No, Jack Reacher. It's another.
I know it's another spy, but like, what's the name of the Mission Impossible?
I don't remember his name, but it's
Ethan Hunt.
Ethan, that's right. But you see, I feel like Jack Reacher is a lot more.
Well, technically, the
he's
original
a lot better
Jack
at fighting
Reacher.
than he's a lot better at fighting, at least in the movies, than Ethan Hunt.
Yeah, although I think the original Jack Reacher is actually played by Harrison Ford back in the older movies that he appears in.
Really?
But yeah,
Oh.
it does Tom Cruise play Jack Reacher? I don't remember him playing Jack Reacher.
Yep.
Okay.
This is the second or third movie that's gonna come out soon.
Or no, wait. Is Jack Reacher the investigator thing? All I remember is I can't remember. There's too many of these like spy movies with like similar names.
And then Jack Reacher is I don't remember exactly what it's about, but it's pretty much he's kind of like a Jason Bourne guy, where completely off the books. Like the government can't find him anywhere, and he goes around and does acts of justice on his own, like kind of like a cowboy.
Okay. There's I think that if we saw that fight, we all know what would happen, though.
We can assume and go with the joke that Daniel Craig
would kill everybody.
drown people. But at the same time, I don't know. Between Jason Bourne, maybe when he was a little younger, Jason Bourne, James Bond, and Jack Reacher, I don't think it would be an easy decision to say who would win. And if you want more interest,
am hands down saying that, yeah, definitely. I'm going with Daniel Craig.
I don't know, because
personally,
a lot of them, they have the same fighting, like boss skills.
But I think in terms of who can take more of a beating, I think
Jason
that like
Bourne,
Daniel Craig can weather the storm more.
I don't
personally.
think we've ever seen Jason Bourne just be completely exhausted and not stand up to a fight.
I guess maybe, but like, I feel like, we've seen Daniel Craig survive getting like shot twice and falling off a train hundreds of feet into like a river and then somehow survive. So I don't know.
I mean, Jason Bourne was shot.
I guess in like a straight fist fight, I guess we see
Jason Bourne's been
like,
shot a few times too.
Yeah, I guess it would come down to like what situation the fight's happening in.
If there's a kitchen sink available.
If it's in a bathroom, then yes, Daniel Craig would win because he would drown the other people in the sink.
I don't know. Jason Bourne has also killed people in bathrooms, in a bathroom stall.
Okay, if it's like in some sort of government facility, then I feel like Jason Bourne would somehow win because like he would be like finding all of the secret stuff and the boxes with the guns in it and whatever.
You see,
and
the Daniel Craig James Bond is tough, but the Matt Damon Jason Bourne is very much like a skilled fighter, as opposed to enduring much and be able to take a beating and blowing hard, throwing hard swings and stuff. Jason Bourne is a lot more like, not like kung fu, but like he knows how to fight. And then if you wanted to make the scene more interesting, throw in Batman from the Dark Knight, throw in someone from like Captain America or like Black.
Well, if Captain America was in, he would just kick everybody's butt because he's like a superhuman.
True.
So I don't know.
So is
unless it was in a bathroom, in which case Daniel Craig would drown him in the sink.
But see, they all have the same fighting styles of that quick-paced action that you see in movies. That's just pretty much sped up. Like people, fighting, you speed up the scenes. So it looks like they're swinging fast. There was not a ton. There's a lot of shaky cam.
There's a lot of shaky cam and a lot of unnecessary shaky cam in this movie. There's a scene where he's looking at something on his phone, and we're supposed to be reading what it says on the phone,
and it's like shaking around everywhere.
Yeah, and so you can't actually read it, and you're like, "Excuse me, movie. Clearly, you want me to read what's on this phone because this shot is exclusively of the phone. Yet you have the shaky cam, so that way we can't read what's on the phone." Make up your mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want me to read it or do you not want me to read
Oh,
it?
oh, you have to feel intense. You have to feel like he's being chased. Make it shake.
Whatever.
Um,
Yeah. There's let's just go over the plot of this movie and I will give my summary review, okay?
okay.
So, in my opinion, this is a movie about nothing. Nothing happens in this movie if you think about
ends,
it.
nothing changes.
Exactly.
Which
nothing changes in this movie
I
at
don't
all.
think is a huge complaint because it's kind of the theme of like Jason Bourne, like he's still out there, lone wolf, doing his own
Well,
thing.
I guess, but like if nothing's gonna change, then I don't want to see any more of these
Well,
movies.
I guess you learned something. You learned about his dad, which was still very vague and quick. It went by quickly. Like you didn't learn
Yeah,
a lot
okay.
about
So
it.
first of all, okay, let's talk about this. Yeah.
Right, go
First
ahead.
of all, the movie starts out with the very first line in the movie is Jason Bourne saying like I remember everything. And clearly that's not true because he keeps having flashbacks where he remembers more about his dad throughout the entire movie.
Yep.
So I have no idea what the purpose of that line is because it makes no sense in the context of the rest of the movie. But whatever, that's how it starts. And then it starts off with this like scene that I kind of like where, you know, they're going through and they're like, oh, there's Jason Bourne. We establish where Jason Bourne is. He's fighting. He's using this as a cover, even though I wish he was in America still because that's where we left off. And so it kind of feels like a bit of a jump, but whatever. He's in this fighting ring, and that's what he's using as his way of staying off the grid, is this presumably illegal fighting ring.
Mhm.
We see Nikki. She's going into the hacker internet cafe to hack things. And then CIA headquarters, and there's this kind of interesting scene where it goes back and forth between, you know, CIA control room, where, you know, there's the big command room, and they're like, oh, we're being hacked, and there's a breach, oh my goodness, and, you know, it goes back and forth, and they are doing different things like, oh, plant the malware and turn off the power grid, and Nikki's, you know, downloading the stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then she gets her information on the USB, which the CIA succeeds in like implanting the malware tracking device, and they shut off the power, and then Nikki pointlessly burns down the computer.
Yep.
Then Nikki managed to magically find Jason Bourne, despite the fact that apparently the CIA can't. But Nikki on her own with her limited resources.
It's not established how she knows.
Yeah, she just like walks into the wrestling place and is like, "Oh, there's Jason Bourne."
They actually gave each other pagers a while ago.
And they're untrackable pagers.
Yep.
The CIA can't hack them for some reason. They have anti-CIA chips in them. And then Jason gets dragged into this plot unwillingly because he's like, I just want to stay off the grid. Like, quit bothering me. But she's like, no, we have to expose the terrible things that are happening. And then, of course, in the end of the movie, nothing gets exposed, really. I mean, something gets exposed because...
It's never about exposure.
Well, that's what her goal is, though, originally. She's like, here, we need to expose, you know, the terrible things that the CIA are doing.
Yeah. Well, Nikki died early on. Same with her cause.
Yeah, exactly.
She and her cause died off early.
Yeah, so then Nikki gets shot in Athens, and we see some incompetent agency people who are chasing them who are super obvious. Like, wouldn't it be more interesting of a movie if the people that they had chasing them just seemed like completely normal, like blended in, like they were never emphasized, but then there's just like a normal person walking down the street and all of a sudden, bam, punches you in the face, and like normal people, you know, like that Jason Bourne doesn't notice. I get that Jason Bourne is like supposed to be amazing, but it just seems like he can magically notice everybody, which is partially because all the people are idiots in this movie because they like drive straight up to the area that he's in their fancy cars, hop out,
as the government
like
always seems to do in movies.
Yeah, exactly, in the most obvious way possible. And they're not dressed like anybody else, and they don't handle themselves like anybody else. When they're talking on their communicators, they literally hold their hand up to their face. It's like not subtle at all there, dude. Like if you're wearing an earpiece, you don't need to hold your hand up to your face. Like that's not a requirement. It just tips off literally everyone that you're either insane or a secret agent of some type. Like everyone knows what that is, dude. Just walk normally and talk like a normal person, and you know, don't show that you're obviously a secret agent. But anyway, So they all get taken care of pretty rapidly due to incompetence. The police are incompetent as well because Jason steals that motorcycle, and then the other police on motorcycles are chasing him, and then he gets away from them because the one police with the water hose tries to spray Jason, but instead accidentally sprays the other police officers because apparently everybody in this movie is incompetent.
Yep.
So then, like, again, this is a problem with this movie where I feel like Jason escapes or succeeds not because he's awesome, but because everybody else is an idiot.
Just like high school volleyball during gym class, the way you win is off of other people's failures and not because you're good.
Exactly. So Jason, because of everybody else's idiocy, gets away until there's the super boss agent chasing them, and they're running their predictive algorithm, and they're like, oh, this is the route they're going to take. You need to get up on this rooftop, and then you can shoot them. And so then he does that. He gets up on the roof, and he shoots Nikki, and then it goes on to the next scene, which that algorithm I feel like should have been a bigger part of this movie. Like, I feel like that was an interesting idea, is like you have this algorithm that you use to kind of predictively determine what's going to happen.
I thought they just saw what streets were blocked off, and they're like, oh, they're probably
but they were using like an algorithm to do that. It was like a computer program that was doing that. They mentioned that, and I feel like that could have been a bigger part of this movie if they had wanted it to be. Like, they could have made it where like that was what the CIA was doing now, because again, it would have fit with the theme of like collecting data on everybody, is that they have an algorithm that predicts like everything that's going to happen and what different people are going to do. But I also feel like it could have been a cool opportunity to maybe show like an over-reliance on that algorithm, because like in all the places that an algorithm wouldn't work, it would be that situation. Because it's a massive protest all over the city where there's chaos. I feel like you wouldn't be able to accurately predict all those variables.
So from the previews, there's that one scene where, at least from the previews, it appears that Jason Bourne is driving this huge truck that's just like plowing through traffic and cars.
Which is actually the other guy.
Which is actually the other guy. And I thought that was a perfect scene for that scene in Athens. I'm like, oh, Jason, they're going to be like, somehow he's going to get in a big truck, and they'll be like, oh, he's
going to steal a police truck, yeah.
And then like Jason's like, oh, they can't turn here because there's a ton of traffic. Nope, he went there anyways, and he plowed through the traffic because
exactly. It would have been interesting. It would
be like, oh, what do we do now? And they get away, but
yeah.
It was.
Because if you can predict Jason Bourne's actions so well, how have you had so much trouble killing this guy for like 20 years at this point?
Yeah. And then what happens after that? They get away.
They get away. And so now... Yeah, or Jason gets away, yeah. I love how every time they go to a new city, like the Tommy Lee Jones character is just like, just call up the Athens team, call up the Berlin team, call up the London team. It's like, do you have special forces teams in literally every city on the planet Earth?
Call up the Algonquin team in Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like, it makes sense for some of the bigger cities, but it is funny. Just like, you have these teams of guys apparently all over the place. Like, this seems like prohibitively expensive. I don't know. Yeah, like they go to like some random village where there's only like 4 people living there, and it turns out they're all just like the special forces team, just in case somebody wanders by. So there's these teams everywhere they go. It's not like let's fly in people or whatever. It's all this, just they wander around and there's teams everywhere. It kind of feels like the same thing over and over again. Nothing changes in this movie beginning to end. Eventually, they make their way to Las Vegas, where the final showdown happens with the scene that is totally unrealistic with the truck plowing through the traffic, because even though that's a big truck, the other car's collective mass would still slow it down, and it wouldn't send those cars flying doing like 360s, but whatever. Apparently this movie has no cares about reality, even though it tries to pretend it's in reality by making reference to Snowden and all that other stuff, which is another problem. Yeah, because they're like, oh, this leak that Nikki hacked us with, this will be bigger than Snowden. And it's like, okay, first of all, Nikki just magically hacked you somehow through hackiness with a crappy old computer that doesn't make any sense.
By the power of hackiness. I shall hack you upon the hackiness of my choosing. You shall be hacked.
Yes. Yes. But like Snowden is completely different, because Snowden was actually like in the NSA like, you know, plugged in a USB drive while physically inside of the NSA. He was a current employee of the NSA, and that's how he, you know, snuck all that stuff out of there. It wasn't that he was like hacking in from afar. He was just literally in the building and then just copied everything over onto a USB drive. There was like no hacking really involved. Like, that was all that happened. He was just like, hey, this is wrong that we are reading everybody's emails and stuff without a warrant. Like, I'm going to spill the beans on everything. And so I'm just going to, you know, copy this program and, you know, be a whistleblower. And that was Snowden. So then they get to Las Vegas through convoluted schemes. The agency lady helps Jason Bourne get into the United States. Jason Bourne is apparently wanting to kill that dude who killed his dad.
Which at this point in the movie, I've lost motivation for this.
Yeah, exactly. I've lost all interest in this movie at that point. There's an action set piece where the super awesome sniper misses a shot that was literally like less than 100 yards away.
Because he has a light shining in him, and he's also being shot at by Jason Bourne.
Yeah, I guess.
I actually like that scene. That was probably the.
Well, I'm pretty sure
that felt like more. The whole scene felt more of a climax, but then he goes up to the room and Dewey gets shot.
Yeah. That should have been the climax of the movie, I feel like, but it wasn't.
And then I feel like that was the climax, and then there's like an extra little like hump after the climax, which was Jason and the agent fighting, which I could have
that's true. For. Yeah, I feel like that part should have been integrated into the climax because having it at the end just kind of killed it. Whatever. Then Tommy Lee Jones dies because the lady shoots him, and Jason's like, "You were never here," and takes the gun from her, so that way presumably he'll take the blame. Even though, like, realistically, I feel like Jason Bourne's he shouldn't care about her at all.
He's the Dark Knight. He took the blow.
Except he shouldn't care. He should not care about this lady at all. He should be like, "Screw you. You're just like these other jerks." Like, you know what I mean? Like.
He was trying to find out if he could trust her or not.
I guess, but...
So I guess if he let her take the blame, then he wouldn't find out if he could actually trust her or not, which at the end of the movie, he finds out he can't trust her.
Because he can magically record their conversation somehow.
I guess beforehand, he implanted like a audio device inside the car or something.
Somehow he had access to do that.
He's Jason Bourne.
Why did the final meeting between like the government people take place in a moving car going around Washington D.C.? Like, it just felt more like the mafia, where it's like, wait, why do we have to be in a moving car? Like, you guys literally run this city. Like, this is the city that is effectively run by the United States government almost entirely, because like. Half of the buildings in the city are literally like government institutions. Like, you could meet anywhere you wanted to and have it be pretty secure, but instead you decide to meet in a moving car in Washington D.C., which would not be a pleasant experience if like in the real world, because in the real world there is traffic constantly in Washington D.C. We know this because we have driven in Washington, D.C., you and I, Paul.
We have.
It is not that fun to drive in Washington, D.C.
Perhaps it's because the roads are well paved and it's a beautiful drive. You get some nice scenery, but the traffic's very good.
Yeah, the nice scenery of thousands of tourists running around,
not that
taking
part.
Pictures.
They're driving by the monuments.
Yeah, which is where all the tourists are.
Oh, that's right. But there are just conveniently no tourists in the...
Conveniently no tourists and no traffic. The same with Vegas. That scene with the car chase in Vegas, I felt like there should have been way more cars. As someone who's been
Every
to Vegas,
road should have been plowing through cars.
Exactly. It should have been all like that. Like, you know, Vegas is completely packed all the time. There should have been more cars and there should have been more people on the streets. Like, Vegas is a freak show. You go to Vegas, right? Like, so I've only been to Vegas once, but there's just like tens of thousands of people on the sidewalk. Like, the sidewalks are not even remotely that clear. Like, there were a lot of people on the sidewalks in this movie, but like it should look like freaking Disney World. Like, there should be like shoulder to shoulder kind of thing. Like, it is insane how many people there are in Las Vegas at any given time, especially since this was happening like predominantly at night, which is like when Vegas is most active, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was just so many weird things. Like, I wish that, like, the fact that it was in Vegas was arbitrary as well, actually. Like, so they're in Las Vegas. But, like, why not take advantage of the fact you're in Las Vegas and, like, have some fun with your setting? Like, you know, why not have a unique action set piece where it's like, oh, you know, there's all these crazy casinos and they've all got crazy, like, interiors, and, you know, here's a miniature Eiffel Tower and the miniature Statue of Liberty, or, like, the Venetian is really cool. I've been in the Venetian before, and it's like a mini Venice. You know, there's, like, a mini canal that runs through the Venetian with, like, boats and stuff on it. Like, it's awesome. But they don't take advantage of any of this stuff. Like, it's, like, just, like, it might as well be in any city.
Yeah. And then, because all it was like a conference.
Yeah, it was just like a tech conference, which I feel like realistically should have been in like LA or San Francisco.
Yeah.
But I guess there's conventions in Las Vegas
in
too.
Silicon
So
Valley
whatever.
somewhere. But
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, and then the end happens where I guess Jason gets his revenge on the operator who by snapping his neck, but he doesn't really get revenge because the operator is just an operator. I feel like Jason should know this. Because, like, Jason was brainwashed to kill all sorts of people when he was an operator.
Uh-huh.
Like,
but I don't think this agent was under the same program that Jason was
he
under.
wasn't, but again, that's his job. It's not really, like, his fault. It's not like this agent went out of his way to kill his dad. It's just he was told to kill his dad. Presumably by Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
Like, that should be the revenge, is he should kill Tommy Lee Jones, and that should be the whole movie.
Well, then the
like,
agent is
you killed my dad, you jerk. You know, kill Tommy Lee Jones.
I like Tony
that should be what
killing
happens.
your father. You jerk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, perhaps it was because he knew the agent was trying to kill him, so might as well just get him out of the way. And plus, he killed Nikki, but you kind of forget that at that point in the movie.
Yeah. Because it's basically not relevant.
Because like I feel like the whole time, like Tommy Lee Jones and the girl were like, you know, why is you gotta stop Jason from exposing this thing? And then the girl's like, oh wait, maybe he's not trying to expose it. And then Tommy Lee Jones is like, what if he's not coming for us? And then I'm like, well, what is he coming for? and then it goes to Jason Bourne, and I still don't know what he's doing. And
I don't know. I don't understand the things that are happening in
I
this
feel like
movie.
at the time when Jason Bourne gets Tommy Lee Jones in the room all by himself, he's like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones. So earlier in the movie, Tommy Lee Jones seems like he's just set on killing Jason Bourne because he kills his own operators, so that way his like super operator, can kill Bourne, but that doesn't work out. And then after, you know, and that was because the lady, the hardcore bad CIA lady, whose name escapes me still because she was kind of forgettable, even though she was a decent.
I don't think she was forgettable.
Well, like, I mean, she wasn't like super forgettable, but I mean, like, she wasn't stand out enough for me to remember her name. I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
and
plus her face just read blank, and so when you think of name,
exactly,
blank.
Yeah, blank face. And so then so Tommy Lee Jones, she has the idea like, oh, I think I can get him to come back in if I can just talk to him, and we can have Jason Bourne work for us again, which is probably a great idea because apparently Jason Bourne is just unkillable and untrackable. So he probably is like the best secret agent in the world.
Yeah. Because
apparently the CIA, in 20 years of trying to kill this guy, has not managed to kill him.
Yep.
Despite drones and snipers and bombs and the, like, apparently being in control of every piece of technology in the world, they somehow still haven't managed to kill Jason Bourne. So clearly he's a guy you want to have working for you. So she's like, I think I can get him to come back in if I can just talk to him. And he's like, oh, that's a good idea. Psych. You know, as soon as she walks out of the room, and he's like, oh, I'm going to kill him. And, you know, he has the operator kill the other operator so that way they can kill Jason Bourne.
That's another thing that I thought of in that movie. I was like, are they still trying to kill him? I thought, like, aren't you experienced in trying to get rid of Jason Bourne before? Like, you can't.
Yeah, and why not? If he really wanted to kill Jason Bourne, why not just tell her, no, he's too dangerous.
Well,
we're just going to kill him.
Because there's that other important guy that we don't know his name that we assume is important because he's meeting with Tommy Lee Jones.
I guess, but again, he could have just been like, I don't think that's a good idea. I think we should just kill him. And then we don't have to go through the trouble of, you know, killing your own people.
The reason why Tommy Lee Jones decided that they should just kill Jason Bourne is because that one agent went and killed all of killed Alpha and Beta team. And
That was on the orders of Tommy Lee Jones, though.
I don't think it was.
I'm pretty sure that
I
Tommy
thought
Lee
that.
Jones was orchestrating that
Oh, okay.
entire
Because
thing.
I thought it was just the agent wanting to get revenge, and then Tommy Lee Jones is like, "Yeah, see, you don't know what you're doing," because the agent guy knew that's what Tommy Lee
No,
Jones would
because
say.
that agent guy, I think I remember him even specifically like saying after he kills the first team, like Alpha's down or whatever,
Oh,
and then Tommy's like, okay, yeah, like good, and he's not taught. He has like the other girl muted, and then he like goes back to her and he's like, hey, what's going on? Like. Well, you look at you totally screwed up this whole operation. Look all these people you got killed. Now you believe me that we gotta kill this guy. It's like, okay, Tommy Lee Jones, we understand. But then in the end of the movie, Tommy Lee Jones tries to talk to Jason Bourne
because he
and is
knows
like,
he's got nothing. He knows that Jason's gonna find him, and he's like, "Well, it's either now or never."
but here's the thing though. He has that security detail with like the 4 or 5 guys in it. And he's like, you guys go back downstairs.
Well, I think
I'm just going to wait in my room.
those 4 guys wouldn't have stopped Jason Bourne. I think we all know that.
I feel like, yes, but realistically, in the real world, if all 5 of them could have just, like, stood back to back in the center of the room with, like, their guns out, like, as soon as somebody tries to go through the door, just everybody shoot him.
It was the door. It was the bellhopper. He was just trying to
Yeah,
deliver
the bellhop walks through.
room service. You killed him for chocolate cake.
Or maybe since you're, such a awesome CIA people, maybe you can just go up to the roof and get a helicopter or something, or any of the other, or go to a different room.
Quick, hijack that helicopter flying over there. Okay, I think one of them has a Bluetooth. And I will use that through the Bluetooth. The Bluetooth will connect to the helicopter.
The one guy has an Apple Watch. We can use the Apple Watch to take control of his nervous system and have him hijack the helicopter to fly it over.
Those naive, gullible consumers buying Apple products. Don't they know the CIA owns Apple? Come on.
Yeah. That's another thing in this movie. So the CIA apparently invested in like Deep Dream way back when it was first starting up, and I'm like, and that's why they like own Deep Dream. I'm like, okay. The way that social media works, there are so many failed social media platforms. Like, you need more than just money. You also just kind of need to get lucky. So like, does the CIA just invest in like tons of social media platforms on the off chance that one of them will get successful, and then they'll have like, a back door into it? Is that their whole idea? Like,
I don't know.
It's
apparently.
Yeah, so I think we've talked pretty extensively.
We have. I was surprised about the talk that we got out of this movie.
Yeah, it's basically nothing is explained in this movie. The status quo is completely unchanged. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. There's nothing unique about the movie to make it worth watching, even though there's no story change and throughout the movie. It kind of reminds me of The Walking Dead, where The Walking Dead just keeps running, and it's just them surviving. That's the show. I stopped watching the show after season 2 because I was like, this is boring. It's just the same thing over and over again. It's just surviving. Yeah. Nothing ever happens. They just survive continuously.
I guess the biggest change, the biggest things that did happen in this movie were, one, he found out the little he did about his dad, and then 2, that new girl is introduced and takes the place of Tommy Lee Jones. So it's kind of like, apparently she has a new crew, quote quote, of younger people coming in. Her people.
Which just is so kind of cliche and stereotypical.
I don't know if that's like is this the last Jason Bourne movie?
I don't know,
because
I feel like
it could go either way at the end of this movie. I felt like they were saying like, oh look, it's going to continue on forever and ... etc. Let's leave it at that, because like you got like the evil CIA, the Seven's got new people, and it's the same, and you still got Jason Bourne, who's still the lone wolf, all alone, wandering the world by himself. Must suck. Besides being awesome like he is.
Besides being completely unkillable and is able to like punch out the other professional wrestlers in one punch.
Yeah, that is boss.
Yeah, although we've seen things like that before in other movies, but yeah, it's oh my goodness, it's just it's not a good movie in my opinion. That's
it was my first reaction. when I watched it was I actually kind of really appreciated it that it wasn't a ton of action. That I felt like the movie was still moving on at a good pace, and I was still interested in it. Like it still kept me going, even though that there wasn't nonstop action. Like I was just really glad that the movie wasn't like, hey, look at it's Jason Bourne. Remember Jason Bourne? Watch him do these cool things. Oh, isn't that cool? When like I felt like it was like they had their own plot that was moving along, as flawed as it was at points, and as big as ambiguous as it was. I was the movie flew by for me because I was it's like 2 hours and like 3 minutes or something. I did not feel like it was 2 hours long, and I was like I checked my watch towards the end, and I'm like, oh, we got like 10 minutes left. And I was like, okay, well that went by quick, at least for me.
For me, it dragged more, but
Okay.
whatever. I don't know.
Of course, I wasn't as aware as a lot of the critical things that you were aware of when I was watching it. I remember being kind of I remember following the plot, like understanding what's happening. At the same time, I remember being like, what is Jason Bourne doing? And I remember being kind of like, oh, I thought I wanted him to. I felt like there could have been more motivation behind him. But at the same time, I didn't think it was a terrible movie. I don't know. It's definitely not. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. Um, I might need to see it again, just to process it all again. Usually, it's kind of necessary to see some movies twice, because the first time you see it, like, oh, that was pretty good, and you see it again, and you're like, oh no, that wasn't really good, or oh, that was pretty good.
At this point, I would honestly rather watch Jurassic World again.
No way.
Than watch this movie.
No way. You would rather watch Jurassic World than this Jason
Honestly, yeah, because at least Jurassic World, I kind of have some fun at certain scenes.
Okay.
But like this movie is just completely drab and
Yeah.
So out of our 3 possible ratings, which is not recommend, or recommended, which kind of those 3 possible ratings change. Sometimes it's thumbs down, thumbs up.
I would say meh. I would not say recommended.
Okay, I am going to go with the thumbs down on this one.
I will go with the middle.
Okay, I was not happy with this movie.
All right.
So I mean, I don't mean to insult the filmmakers. I don't want to insult Matt Damon. I think that a lot of these people are professionals who do good work, but somebody screwed up at some point. You know, whether it was a writer or whether it was a studio that just said like, "Hey, you know what could maybe make us a lot of money if we made another one of that Bourne franchise that we have." And they were like, "Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's make another Bourne movie. It'll make money." And then they made this movie.
See, that's the sad part. You know, the movie making business is indeed a business and an industry, and exists because you make money. At the same time, I like movies that are good at making money, but also at the same time good at being a piece of art. You know.
Yeah, or at least fun.
Yeah, exactly. At least fun, because there's movies that are really artsy, and you can appreciate a lot, and those movies that are fun. And so, yeah, this one definitely felt more like let's make some money, rather than let's make something really good. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. So.
Yeah. So, for our official box cover review, meh and this was terrible. That's something you would put on the DVD. This was terrible. Pauline.
It's kind of like the presidential campaigns right now. They're all like, don't vote for the other candidate. The other candidate sucks.
And it's like, so do you, but maybe you suck slightly less.
Let's just not talk about how much I suck. Let's just focus on how the other person sucks. So that way you forget about how much I suck.
Vote third party, man.
I was gonna vote for that guy that like is for like free ponies for everyone.
Oh, Vermin Supreme.
Vermin Supreme. Let's just vote.
He's
Daniel Craig. Let's just vote for James Bond.
Daniel Craig. I will drown the enemies of the United States in a bathroom sink.